Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, 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 and thy blessed beneficence, Master. Shower it on us all, we pray. Jai Shri Ramakrishna Jai Ma. So welcome to our Tuesday evening gathering, where we are reading and discussing the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. We're just still in the introduction, which was written by Swami Nikhilananda. Our beloved reader, Haima, will tell us where we are, and then apparently you can subtract 8 pages from that and find your place in the print edition of the book. So are there any comments, concerns, or questions left over from our previous discussions and readings of this wonderful and unique spiritual document? All right, dears. Well, Haima will tell us where we are, and I believe I'm correct in saying that those of you who have the print edition, you can subtract 8 pages from the PDF number that she gives you, and you will be on the right page.
Good evening, everyone. Namaste. And we are on page 36 on PDF. So it may be 29 or 28 book, probably.
All right.
I will go one paragraph just backwards so that it will connect better, Brother Shankara.
Please do, dear, as pleases yourself.
Okay. Kotapuri asked the disciple to withdraw his mind from all objects of relative world, including the gods and goddesses, and to concentrate on the absolute. But the task was not easy, even for Sri Ramakrishna. He found it impossible to take his mind beyond Kali, the divine mother of the universe. After the initiation, Sri Ramakrishna once said, describing the event, Nangta began to teach me the various conclusions of the Advaita Vedanta and asked me to withdraw the mind completely from all objects and dive deep into the Atman. But in spite of all my attempts, I could not altogether cross the realm of name and form and bring my mind to the unconditioned state. I had no difficulty in taking the mind from all the objects of the world, but the radiant and too familiar figure of the blissful mother, the embodiment of the essence of pure consciousness, appeared before me as a living reality. Her bewitching smile prevented me from passing into the great beyond. Again and again, I tried, but she stood in my way every time. In despair, I said to Nangta, it's hopeless. I cannot raise my mind to the unconditioned state and come face to face with Atman. He grew excited and sharply said, what? You can't do it? But you have to. He cast his eyes around. Finding a piece of glass, he took it up and stuck it between my eyebrows. Concentrate the mind on this point. he thundered. Then, with stern determination, I again sat to meditate. As soon as the gracious form of the Divine Mother appeared before me, I used my discrimination as a sword and with it clove her in two. The last barrier fell. My spirit at once soared beyond the relative plane, and I lost myself in samadhi.
Okay, let's pause there.
Go ahead.
Any comments from your own wisdom or experience? Any concern or question that anything we've read raises for you? Because it would be inauspicious to go beyond this if there isn't clarity in what the Master has told us about what happened. This business of taking up this piece of broken glass and poking it between his eyebrows, and thundering, concentrate your mind here at this point. And he poked him till it cut the skin, and he actually bled. And so then Sri Ramakrishna did as he was told, and when the form of the Divine Mother appeared, he says, I took this sword of discrimination and cut her in two. The word used by the Swami is clove, but that's a rather unusual word for us these days. So just he cut her in two. So when he did, he was able to go beyond pure consciousness. Now, this gives us some clue as to what is in this beyond state. There is no consciousness there. It's an interesting thing for us to contemplate, because we know only consciousness and its reflection in us as awareness. So anything else from anyone?
Yes, brother, this is Jeff.
Yes, Jeff.
Sri Ramakrishna had gone into samadhi many times.
Please turn yourself up a little bit, Jeff.
Oh, okay.
It's hard to hear you.
It's probably my air conditioner. Sri Ramakrishna had gone into samadhi many times before this. And maybe with these new instructions, he followed a different method, but he still ended up in samadhi.
No, this is a different samadhi. This is nirvikalpa samadhi. This is consciousness beyond the other samadhis were various forms, higher and higher, but nevertheless very forms of samadhi focused on an object or subject. In this case, most often, the Divine Mother, though there were other gods and goddesses that were part of his meditation and samadhi. But this was unique in his experience. Nirvikalpa he had not experienced before. This is what Advaita leads us to, is this state of realization beyond all seeds. There is nothing left to experience. There's no mind there. There is no consciousness in the ordinary sense of the word. What's there is indescribable, simply because there is no way to describe what we cannot say is experienced. It's a state of realization, not experience. So that's the answer to your concern, Jeff. He had been in samadhi many times, yes, but a lower form, in his own estimation even. And then after this, he often went into nirvikalpa samadhi, in which case the body appears to be dead. No sign of life whatsoever.
Thank you, brother. I guess a good clue might be in the next paragraph when it says that he stayed in samadhi for 3 days.
Yes.
And I don't think that had ever happened before.
No.
Right. So, thank you.
Thank you, dear.
But wouldn't this imply that Totapuri was capable of nirvikalpa samadhi?
Oh, yes. Of course he was. But there was still a piece missing for Totapuri, as we'll learn. He had something to learn from the master, just as the master had something to learn from him. He had something to learn from the master and the master's mistress, the mother of the universe. So yes, Totapuri was capable of nirvikalpa. But nirvikalpa is by itself not the final word. Sri Ramakrishna himself says it later on. There's something beyond is and is not. And of course, we can't begin to know what he's talking about. It's simply a gesture. He's pointing to a moon that when he points to it, we can see it. We don't even see it when he doesn't point to it. Anything else from anyone? This is exactly what we should be doing to clarify this before we go on. All right, dears.
Go ahead, Brother Shankara. Move on.
Yes, please, dear.
Okay. Sri Ramakrishna remained completely absorbed in samadhi for 3 days. Is it really true? Totapuri cried out in astonishment. Is it possible that he has attained in a single day what it took me 40 years of strenuous practice to achieve? Great God, it's nothing short of a miracle. With the help of Totapuri, Sri Ramakrishna's mind finally came down to the relative plane. Totapuri, a monk of the most orthodox type, never stayed at a place more than 3 days, but he remained at Dakshineshwar 11 months. He too had something to learn. Totapuri had no idea of the struggles of ordinary men in the toils of passion and desire. Having maintained all through life the guilelessness of a child, he laughed at the idea of a man's being led astray by the senses. He was convinced that the world was Maya and had only to be denounced to vanish forever. A born non-dualist, he had no faith in a personal God. He did not believe in the terrible aspect of Kali, much less in her benign aspect. Music and the chanting of God's holy name were to him only so much nonsense. He ridiculed the spending of emotion on the worship of a personal God. Kali and Maya. Next subheading.
Kali and Maya.
Maya.
This is what, now we're going to learn what it was that Totapuri, this missing piece, and the title tells us he's going to learn about Kali and Maya.
Sri Ramakrishna, on the other hand, though fully aware, like his guru, that the world is an illusory appearance, instead of slighting Maya like an orthodox monist, acknowledged its power in the relative life. He was all love and reverence for Maya, perceiving in it a mysterious and majestic expression of divinity. To him, Maya itself was God, for everything was God. It was one of the faces of Brahman. What he had realized on the heights of the transcendental plane, he also found here below, everywhere about him, under the mysterious garb of names and forms. And this garb was a perfectly transparent sheath through which he recognized the glory of the divine immanence. Maya, the mighty weaver of the garb, is none other than Kali, the divine mother. She is the primordial divine energy, Shakti, and she can no more be distinguished from the supreme Brahman than can the power of burning be distinguished from fire.
Would you read that again, please?
I will.
She can no more.
Yes, she is the primordial divine energy, Shakti, and she can no more be distinguished from the supreme Brahman than can the power of burning be distinguished from fire. She projects the world and again withdraws it. She spins it as the spider spins its web. She is the mother of the universe, identical with the Brahman of Vedanta and with the Atman of yoga. As eternal lawgiver, she makes and unmakes laws. It is by her imperious will that karma yields its fruit. One more time. It is by her imperious will that karma yields its fruit. She ensnares men with illusion and again releases them from bondage with a look of her benign eyes. She is the supreme mistress of the cosmic play, and all objects, animate and inanimate, dance by her will. Even those who realize the absolute in Nirvikalpa Samadhi are under her jurisdiction as long as they still live on the relative plane. Thus, after Nirvikalpa Samadhi, Sri Ramakrishna realized Maya in an altogether new role. The binding aspect of Kali vanished from before his vision. She no longer obscured his understanding. The world became the glorious manifestation of the Divine Mother. Maya became Brahman. The transcendental itself broke through the immanent. Sri Ramakrishna discovered that Maya operates in the relative world in two ways, and he termed these Avidya Maya and Vidya Maya. Avidya Maya represents the dark forces of creation that are sensuous desires, evil passions, greed, lust, cruelty, and so on. It sustains the world system on the lower planes. It is responsible for the round of man's birth and death. It must be fought and vanquished. But Vidya Maya is the higher force of creation that are the spiritual virtues, the enlightening qualities, kindness, purity, love, devotion. Vidya Maya elevates man to the higher planes of consciousness. With the help of Vidya Maya, the devotee rids himself of Avidya Maya. He then becomes Mayatita, free of Maya. The two aspects of Maya are the two forces of creation, the two powers of Kali, and she stands beyond them both. She is like the effulgent sun, bringing into existence and shining through and standing behind the clouds of different colors and shapes conjuring up wonderful forms in the blue autumn heaven. The Divine Mother asked Sri Ramakrishna not to be lost in the featureless absolute, but to remain in Bhava Mukta, on the threshold. Bhava Mukha. Yes, I'm sorry. I'll read one more time. The Divine Mother asked Sri Ramakrishna not to be lost in the featureless absolute, but to remain in Bhava Mukha, on the threshold of relative consciousness, the borderline between the absolute and the relative. He was to keep himself at the sixth center of Tantra, from which he could see not only the glory of the seventh, but also the divine manifestations of the Kundalini in the lower centers. He gently oscillated back and forth across the dividing line. Ecstatic devotion to the Divine Mother alternated with serene absorption in the ocean of absolute unity. He thus bridged the gulf between the personal and the impersonal, the immanent and the transcendent aspects of reality. This is a unique experience in the recorded spiritual history of the world.
Okay, let's pause there.
Sure, that's
There's
the
been
end
a
of
lot
this.
said
Yes.
since we last paused. Is there anything in what has been read that you would like to comment on from your own wisdom or experience? Anything that you can add to this conversation from your own being, or any concern or question that needs clarification? Let's not go on if there's anything that, because now we're going to, having heard the experience of Sri Ramakrishna, we're now going to hear the experience of Totapuri, which was revolutionary for him. So anything at all from anyone about what we've read that needs clarification?
One comment, Brother Shankara.
Yes, dear.
I know Nirvikalpa Samadhi might be very, very difficult to achieve, but even through just regular continuous practice of meditation, we do feel the free of Maya to an extent. I'm not saying fully, but to an extent, we could see some change in ourselves.
Yes, this is the
This is higher than everything, right?
Yes, this is the proof of our spiritual practice, but
Exactly.
it remains within
Yes.
Maya, within time, space, and causation. There is no way for us to talk about what is beyond time, space, and causation. We simply cannot. There is no mind there to record what is realized. It only is totally transformative for those who do have the realization. So we can't say that we're close to Nirvikalpa Samadhi.
Not at all.
We can simply say that we are close to these lower forms of Samadhi that do in fact transform our thoughts and therefore our speech and our actions. And as you've heard it said before, this is what Swami Swahananda would repeat again and again. The only true measure of spiritual progress is change in behavior. Because of the experiences that you have, these that Haima was just gesturing to, what happens is your thoughts inevitably change. You simply can't remain the same in the same thought patterns, the same paradigm that you entered this spiritual experience with. And so then your thoughts having changed, this changes your speech and your behavior. And this, as Swami Swahananda said, is the true measure of spiritual progress. the only one that we have. Experiences by themselves are not a measure. We can have wonderful experiences, but unless they actually change our thoughts and therefore our speech and actions, they are just an experience we had. And it turns out that those experiences are psychic experiences rather than spiritual experiences, though they seem like spiritual experiences at the time. Visions of gods and goddesses. Now, that's different from a vision or visualization of your Ishtadevata, the one at the heart of your spiritual practice. That's different. But there are many other kinds of wonderful experiences we would have. When these were brought to Swami Swahananda, he'd say, "Oh, what a wonderful gift. Talk to me about it again in 3 months." In other words, did it really make an impression on you? Has it really, have you assimilated something that is going to change your behavior? And we've heard that this changed Sri Ramakrishna's behavior, and the mother gave him careful instruction. Don't lose yourself in the absolute. Remain in bhava mukha. Bhava mukha is this state of being where you're right at you have, so to speak, 1 foot in the absolute and 1 foot in the relative. You're straddling this. Now, that's inconceivable for us, but we can reach that state. We can come to Bhava Mukha ourselves, not by our own will, but by the will of the mother. She can give us this gift. And this is a form of samadhi that is not really describable in any ordinary terms. So anything else from anyone? Thank you, Haima, as always.
Brother Shankara, this is Michaeli.
Yes, Michaeli.
Wouldn't you say too that it would be, besides doing the mantra and purity of heart, it would also be that you have to constantly self-reflect on yourself to have this different state, that it's a constant self-reflection?
Well, this is what Patanjali tells us, and of course the scriptures that he's referring to tell us the same thing, but he distills it very nicely in the niyamas, and part of this is self-study, which is what you just talked about. This constant review, and the Swami Sarvadevananda spoke about this while he was here. This constant review of your behavior and your speech, and therefore your thoughts. Yes, absolutely, Michaeli. This must be there. And then the final with which the final act, according to Patanjali and the scriptures, that frees you, it's right there in the Gita, very explicitly said, you offer everything to the divine. You then live sacramentally, giving everything to the divine and offering all your experiences, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, all of them, you offer them all to the divine, saying, these are thine, not, they are a gift to me, and as such, I offer them back to you with love and reverence and gratitude. And this, it is through self-study that you see these things that need to be offered back. You can make a practice of it also by saying every morning and every evening that you offer everything to the divine. But you're quite right, Michaeli. Self-study and self-inspection. You must be mindful. You must be mindful. Otherwise, It's like practicing your tennis just a little bit in the morning, a little bit in the evening, maybe a little bit at noontime. You're not going to become a tennis master very quickly by practicing that way. You need to practice constantly. And so you're practicing many, many hours a day. And it can be wearing. And so you get weary sometimes, and you have these dark periods, which are, characterized in some scriptures as the dark night of the soul. You have these down periods where things just don't seem, why is this all worth it, and so on. All those thoughts come. So then you study those as well and say, well, these are old habits of my mind. It's one of the reasons that I haven't made as much progress as I might, because I feel defeated and so give up. Thank you, Michele. Anything else from anyone? Very important what we're doing.
To me, this is the most significant section in the book thus far.
Well, it certainly does reflect a great shift in Sri Ramakrishna's way of being.
In the last
notice that what Totapuri has to learn is what it means to be an ordinary human being.
Mm-hmm.
And he's about to learn that.
Yeah, and that's really what this last line is saying, where he says, even those who realize the absolute nirvikalpa samadhi are under her jurisdiction as long as they still live in the relative plane, including Sri Ramakrishna as a embodied person.
Exactly, precisely, which is why he constantly took instruction from her. His refrain was, "This is thy machine, thou art the operator. I think, speak, and act as you would have me act." Which, of course, we hear that in that same refrain from St. Paul, speaking of Jesus.
I would like to second Glenn's comment that this passage is quite amazing and, to me, transformative. I had been wrestling for some time with the issue of the personal versus the impersonal, and it seemed like there was a dividing line there as far as what you would do to progress in either realm. And this shows how it all interrelates, and it shows the work we have to do, but it kind of provides a roadmap for how to do it. And I know I'm going to be going back to these pages over and over again.
Good. And the thing of it is, this struggle that you've talked about more than once, Jeff, this is what Sri Ramakrishna tells us, and what Totapuri is going to just learn, that the personal and the impersonal are both and equally true. And this, of course, is not something that you can come to a rational conclusion about. It is a matter of that the divine shares that realization with you. Thank you, Jeff, as always.
I don't know. I'm always just fascinated by how Sri Ramakrishna and Vivekananda were both so bound by being incarnated.
Oh, well, the Holy Mother says, the moment the divine takes human form, they become subject to all, without exception, all the limitations of human beings. All the limitations of Maya are part of their experience. Whether they have any karma or not doesn't make any difference. They now are embodied and have that that all of Maya is now the avidya maya and the vidya maya, which we heard described a bit, both are there, and they too have to overcome the avidya maya. Holy Mother used to pray, "Oh, oh divine, oh Kali, even Uncle Moon has a stain. Make me as pure as a star. Make me as pure as a star." And she says the way to do this is to chant your mantra. She says, chant the name of the Lord and his glories, and you will become as pure as a star, which is exactly what Sri Chaitanya says. I won't go into that. You've heard me talk about it many times. But this is not a new refrain from Mother or from Sri Ramakrishna, but it is definitely a fact. Thank you. Anything else from anyone? All right, dear, please do read on.
Okay. Next subheading is Totapuri's lesson. From Sri Ramakrishna, Totapuri had to learn the significance of Kali, the great fact of the relative world, and of Maya, her indescribable power. One day, when Guru and disciple were engaged in an animated discussion about Vedanta, his servant of the temple garden came there and took a coal from the sacred fire that had been lighted by the great ascetic. He wanted it to light his tobacco. Totapuri flew into a rage and was about to beat the man. Sri Ramakrishna rocked with laughter. "What a shame," he cried. "You are explaining to me the reality of Brahman and the illusoriness of the world. Yet now you have so far forgotten yourself as to be about to beat a man in a fit of passion. The power of Maya is indeed inscrutable." Totapuri was embarrassed.
Please read that again from the beginning, dear.
I
This
will.
is one of the things that Totapuri had to learn from Sri Ramakrishna.
Yes.
That though he had this knowledge, he had no tolerance for the relative world. And it's, this man, nothing had happened. The sacred fire that Totapuri had lit was just another fire. I mean, it was a sacred fire in his mind, but it wasn't necessarily even a sacred fire in Sri Ramakrishna's mind. It wasn't as if this man had violated some prescription, violated some sacred law, which Totapuri, of course, saw. That's how he saw it. So he flew into a rage when this guy took a coal from the fire to light his tobacco. So Haima will read it again.
I will. Totapuri's lesson. From Sri Ramakrishna, Totapuri had to learn the significance of Kali, the great fact of the relative world, and of Maya, her indescribable power. One day, when Guru and disciple were engaged in an animated discussion about Vedanta, a servant of the temple garden came there and took a coal from the sacred fire that had been lighted by the great ascetic. He wanted it to light his tobacco. Totapuri flew into a rage and was about to beat the man. Sri Ramakrishna rocked with laughter. "What a shame," he cried. "You are explaining to me the reality of Brahman and the illusoriness of the world. Yet now you have so far forgotten yourself as to be about to beat a man in a fit of passion. The power of Maya is indeed inscrutable." Totapuri was embarrassed. About this time, Totapuri was suddenly laid up with a severe attack of dysentery. On account of this miserable illness, he found it impossible to meditate. One night, the pain became excruciating. He could no longer concentrate on Brahman. The body stood in the way. He became incensed with its demands. A free soul, he did not at all care for the body. So he determined to drown it in the Ganges. Thereupon he walked into the river. But lo, he walks to the other bank. Is there not enough water in the Ganges? Standing dumbfounded on the other bank, he looks back across the water. The trees, the temples, the houses are silhouetted against the sky.
Silhouetted.
Silhouetted. Okay, that I wasn't sure I said it right, Brother Shankara. Thank you. The trees, the temples, the houses are silhouetted against the sky. Suddenly, in one dazzling moment, he sees on all sides the presence of the Divine Mother. She is in everything. She is everything. She is in the water. She is on land. She is the body. She is the mind. She is pain. She is comfort. She is knowledge. She is ignorance. She is life. She is death. She is everything that one sees, hears, or imagines. She turns A into nay and nay into A. Without her grace, no embodied being can go beyond her realm.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand those words, dear. She turns what into what?
Okay, she turns yea into nay.
Yea into nay.
Nay. And nay into A.
Yea.
A, yes.
Yea.
Nay.
Y-E-A.
Y-E-A.
Yea.
Yes, and nay into A.
Yea.
It's A, right?
No. Yea, just like it was spelled Y-A-Y. She turns nay into yea, which means yes. She turns no into yes.
No into yes, exactly.
And then yea into nay. So it's not A, it's yea.
Without her grace, no embodied being can go beyond her realm. Man has no free will. He is not free to die. Yet, again, beyond the body and mind, she resides in her transcendental, absolute aspect. She is the Brahman that Totapuri had been worshipping all his life. Totapuri returned to Dakshineshwar and spent the remaining hours of the night meditating on the Divine Mother. In the morning, he went to the Kali temple with Sri Ramakrishna and prostrated himself before the image of the Mother. He now realized why he had spent 11 months at Dakshineshwar. Bidding farewell to the disciple, he continued on his way, enlightened. Sri Ramakrishna later described the significance of Totapuri's lessons. When I think of the Supreme Being as inactive, neither creating nor preserving nor destroying, I call him Brahman or Purusha, the impersonal God. When I think of him as active, creating, preserving, and destroying, I call him Shakti or Maya or Prakriti, the personal God. But the distinction between them does not mean a difference. The personal and the impersonal are the same thing, like milk and its whiteness, the diamond and its luster, the snake and its wriggling motion. It's impossible to conceive of the one without the other. The Divine Mother and Brahman are one. After the departure of Totapuri, Sri Ramakrishna remained for 6 months in a state of absolute identity with Brahman. For 6 months at a stretch, he said, I remained in that state from which ordinary men can never return. Generally, the body falls off after 3 weeks, like a sere leaf. Is it S-E-R-E? Is it a sere, Brother Shankara?
Sear, just as if it were spelled S-E-A-R, like burn.
Sere.
Sear. A sear leaf means a dry leaf.
I see. Let me read this one more time. For 6 months at a stretch, he said, I remained in that state from which ordinary men can never return. Generally, the body falls off after 3 weeks, like a sere leaf. I was not conscious.
He was in Nirvikalpa Samadhi for 6 months. And what he's saying is, most human beings, having achieved this state at all, and when I say achieved, it isn't a personal achievement, it's actually a gift of the Divine Mother, as Ramakrishna explains. Most people, having been in this state of realization, they don't return to the body at all. But those who do, as Sri Ramakrishna says, they stay a maximum of 3 weeks or 21 days. But he remained in this state, coming just down enough, because as we'll hear, I won't tip the hand, but he was in this state for 6 months. It's inconceivable to us how anyone could do this. And it's inconceivable how the body even remained alive. But we'll hear how it happened.
I was not conscious of day and night. Flies would enter my mouth and nostrils just as they do a dead body's, but I did not feel them. Wow. My hair became matted with dust. His body would not have survived but for the kindly attention of a monk who happened to be at Dakshineshwar at that time and who somehow realized that for the good of humanity, Sri Ramakrishna's body must be preserved. He tried with various means, even physical violence, to recall the fleeing soul to the prison house of the body, and during the resultant fleeting moments of consciousness, he would push a few morsels of food down Sri Ramakrishna's throat. Presently, Sri Ramakrishna received the command of the Divine Mother to remain on the threshold of relative consciousness. Soon thereafter, he was afflicted with a serious attack of dysentery. Day and night, the pain tortured him, and his mind gradually came down to the physical plane. That's the end of this subheading, Brother Shankara.
Okay,
Kali and
let's pause and
Yes.
see if there's any comment from anyone about what they don't know from their own experience, or whether there's any concern or question that any of this raises. Certainly now we've heard again that the personal and impersonal are identical, a distinction without a difference, that this state that is beyond transcendental can only be maintained in this way by a divine being having taken human incarnation. But one of the things that these beings learn, as Totapuri learned, and Sri Ramakrishna also learned in various ways, is what it is like to be an ordinary human being. Now, to bring his mind down from this state, he has this severe attack of dysentery. There's nothing accidental or coincidental here. This again is an act of the Divine Mother to bring him down to the relative plane and instruct him remain in this state of bhavamukha, this dividing line between the relative and the absolute, and teach humanity, but understand that this is what they suffer. When they suffer, as Totapuri learned, when they suffer a severe attack of this amoebic dysentery, it's just beyond imagination painful. We can't even begin to think. It's one of the few things that is apparently as painful as childbirth. And so we can't even begin to think what it's like. It's because modern medicine, of course, has now managed to bring it, to curb it. But Swami Atmarupananda, once when he was in India at Bellarmine, or whether he was at Bellarmine, I don't remember. But anyway, he was in India. He contracted amoebic dysentery, and it took some time for him to be in the hospital there, the Ramakrishna Order Hospital, for them to bring him back to good health, because it's still that powerful, even though there are medicines to control it. So anything else from anyone about any of this at all?
Hari Om.
Yes, dear.
I just want to, because one time they used immanent and transcendental, and the other time he said personal and impersonal. Are they the same thing?
The immanent is the personal. The transcendental is the impersonal.
Impersonal, okay.
But it goes beyond that too. It goes beyond transcendental. As Sri Ramakrishna says, there's a state beyond is and is not. And it's simply not possible for us to understand that until we've had that experience. And that will come to us as we do our spiritual practice. First, just as an intimation, as Wordsworth put it, intimation of immortality, because this is the state of immortality, this level of knowledge. But you're right, Balakrishna, these are equivalent terms. Personal, impersonal, immanent, personal. What does immanent actually mean? At hand. And mano, immanent, at hand, immanent. Transcendental, beyond thought and speech. So this is the meaning of transcendental. So this is you've correctly identified the sameness of those terms. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm sure that was a lack of clarity in some other people's minds as well. As Jeff says, he's been struggling with this. Well, I hope some clarity is coming here from these descriptions of Sri Ramakrishna and Totapuri's personal experiences about the identicality of them, but they appear to us. I mean, Maya, the personal God, Shakti, Kali, call her or it what you will, Ishwar, Ishwara, Ishwari. These are all names for the personal divine, personal God. Anything else? All right, we have a few minutes left.
A few minutes. Yes. We're
So
moving
we
on
can
to
read on into the next heading.
Company of holy men and devotees. That's the next subheading. From now on, Sri Ramakrishna began to seek the company of devotees and holy men. He had gone through the storm and stress of spiritual disciplines and visions. Now he realized an inner calmness and appeared to others as a normal person. But he could not bear the company of worldly people or listen to their talk. Fortunately, the holy atmosphere of Dakshineshwar and the liberality of Mathur attracted monks and holy men from all parts of the country. Sadhus of all denominations, monists and dualists, Vaishnavas and Vedantists, Shaktas and worshippers of Rama flocked there in ever-increasing numbers. Ascetics and visionaries came to seek Sri Ramakrishna's advice. Vaishnavas had come during the period of his Vaishnava sadhana, and Tantrics when he practiced the disciplines of Tantra. Vedantists began to arrive after the departure of Totapuri. In the room of Sri Ramakrishna, who was then in bed with the dysentery, the Vedantists engaged in spiritual discussions and, forgetting his own physical suffering, he solved their doubts by referring directly to his own experiences.
Now let's hear that again.
Sure.
Though he's in bed with dysentery,
Yes.
this terrible, painful amoebic dysentery,
Exactly.
his mind can rise above it, hear their discussion, and resolve their doubts, not by reference to the scriptures, but by his own experiences. And this is why Mahatma Gandhi said of Sri Ramakrishna, if you want to understand the Vedas, study the life of Sri Ramakrishna. He lived them. This Mahatma Gandhi believed with all his heart and soul. He was this dedicated to Sri Ramakrishna, though he didn't use Sri Ramakrishna as a leader for his political and agitation movement. He certainly did use Bhagavad Gita because of its message of fearlessness and nonviolence. But this is what Mahatma Gandhi said of Sri Ramakrishna. If you wish to understand the Vedas, study the life of Sri Ramakrishna. He lived them. Then you don't need to study the life. You don't need to study the Vedas. You understand the meaning of the Vedas in the life and experiences of Sri Ramakrishna, which is why this book that we're reading is such a unique spiritual document. It tells of the experiences of someone who spoke, as Vivekananda said, he spoke the new Vedas. Anything else from anyone? All right, we're going to call it quits there.
Brother Shankara,
Yes.
I have 6 lines for this paragraph. I can end it and then we can go back again and read next week.
Okay, please read the next 6 lines.
Okay. Vedantists began to arrive after the departure of Totapuri in the room of Sri Ramakrishna, who was then in bed with dysentery. The Vedantists engaged in scriptural discussions and, forgetting his own physical suffering, he solved their doubts by referring directly to his own experiences. Many of the visitors were genuine spiritual souls, the unseen pillars of Hinduism, and their spiritual lives were quickened in no small measure by the sage of Dakshineshwar.
Mm-hmm.
Sri Ramakrishna in turn learned from them anecdotes concerning the ways and the conduct of holy men, which he subsequently narrated to his devotees and disciples. At his request, Mathur provided him with large stores of foodstuffs, clothes, and so forth for distribution among the wandering monks. That's the end of the paragraph, and I will read if we need to one more time.
Yes, this liberality was referred to earlier. This liberality of Mathur Babu. It wasn't that he was a spendthrift or some fool with his money, just the opposite. But anything that Sri Ramakrishna desired, he understood that there was a deep meaning behind that desire, and so would provide it without hesitation and at whatever cost. It was quite remarkable. And so it's one of the things that attracted all of these wandering sadhus. They all needed places to get a good meal, to get something to wear, to get pure water. So it was really quite amazing what Mathu Babu did for the advancement of Sri Ramakrishna's mission. Anything else from anyone before we wind it up? All right, dears. Om Hari Om. Om Sato Ma Satkamaya. Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya. Mrityorma Amrutangamaya. Abir Moiti. O dearly beloved Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from this realm of endless noise and relentless delusion to thine abode of silence, serenity, clarity, and peace. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to the brilliance of thy wisdom and love. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to illumination. Lead us from death to immortality. Light us through and through. Light us through and through with thy everlasting, shining presence. Om Hari Om Tat Sat. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Durga, Durga, Durga. May we be safe. May we be healthy. May we be cheerful. May we have peace of mind. And may we go forward in the secure knowledge that we are in the loving and protective embrace of the Divine Being as our Mother and Father. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, 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 and thy blessed benevolence and beneficence be unto us and to all beings everywhere. Any final thought from anyone? All right, dears, until tomorrow night. Of course, Swami Sarvadevananda was here until a little after 1 o'clock today, and it was just as is said in one of Kamalakanta's songs, this was a mart of joy, a mart of joy. There was just constant joyous effulgence from the Swami, both in his talks, in the initiation that he gave to 6 people, and then in the conversations that he had with people at meals and in private. All went away feeling uplifted and joyous, having been in his presence. And the afterglow remains. We feel his presence. And of course, we wish him well. For those of you who wish to send your personal felicitations, his email address is very simple, sarvadevananda@gmail.com. sarvadevananda@gmail.com. And you can send him an expression of your own gratitude and your desire to see him again as soon as it is practical for him and as the Holy Mother wills, as the Divine Mother wills. So until tomorrow night, when we'll take up the Gita with Swayam as our beloved reader. So may you all be well and in bright spirits, dear. Good night to you.